Hello, everyone. Welcome to Creator Weekly Live for the week ending November 3rd, 2024. I'm Peggy Kay, and today there's a bunch of updates for YouTube, updates for Twitch, and I'm going to talk a little bit about how the preparations for the US elections on Tuesday may affect you as a creator. Welcome if you're here live. I'd love to hear about what you think about this week's updates and maybe something interesting you did for Halloween? I don't know. Did you have a good week? I hope so. So let me get started. First of all, talking about preparations for the US elections. If you are in the US, I'm sure you have seen all the notices on various platforms. This is what Google looks like to me right now. It's a reminder to vote. You can click it and get information on voting. And what we're seeing is that most of the major platforms are taking steps to, first of all, make sure that their systems are secure, that there isn't misinformation being spread, and that they are sharing accurate information. So, you know, it's a lot. And it's not clear how well the platforms actually do this. So this is the US, what Google looks like. If you do a search about voting, you can see information. If you're in the US, you see information specific to your state. And all the platforms are doing this. YouTube, if you do a search related to voting or elections, you get a special page with a banner to Google search for this information, and they show authoritative news sources, so mainstream media. This is also true if you go to Twitch. Again, if you do a search related to voting or the US elections, you get a page with a special banner. It leads to Twitch's election information stage, and they're also highlighting news from the mainstream media, hopefully more reliable sources. So what does this all mean, and what does it have to do with creators? And the first thing is that Google is putting election-related restrictions on its AI tools. This includes the search overviews generated by AI. So, you do the Google search and it makes a summary at the top. The AI generates that. There are restrictions on that for election-related queries. It's affecting image generation by Gemini, and it's affecting other AI tools like the AI-generated summaries for live chats on YouTube. So all of these have election-related restrictions in place. And Google says, and I'm quoting this, says users depend on us to provide reliable and up-to-date information on topics like current candidates, voting processes, and election results. And this new technology can make mistakes as it learns or news breaks. For many of these queries in Gemini, we also provide a link connecting users directly to Google Search for the latest and most accurate information. So if you're using one of Google's AI tools, and I don't know if this is just in the US or worldwide, and you try and do anything related to voting or elections, there's going to be restrictions in place so that you're sure to see the most up-to-date information. Because if you do a query and asking about the election results, you definitely want the most recent information. So one of the things that I think is really important to know is that the platforms that are going to be showing live election results. So far I know that's Google, Microsoft Bing, and TikTok. They are all getting the information from the Associated Press. So they should all have the exact same information. And that's what you should look at, not try and do a query in Gemini or something like that. So what other things are happening that might affect creators? And I just wanted to mention a couple things. The first thing I want to note is that most platforms are restricting political advertising in some way. So Google and YouTube are stopping running ads related to the US elections starting from when the last polls close on Tuesday. And then after that, they haven't said how long those restrictions will be in place. Meta, on the other hand, so that's Facebook and Instagram and Threads, they aren't running any new political ads for the week starting last Tuesday until one day after the election's over. Now, this can affect monetization if you're getting political ads, and whether people like them or not, I don't know if people will watch those or click on them. I did want to note that if you are using AdSense on your own website, or you are monetizing your YouTube channel, you can block political ads from appearing on your content. That's in the AdSense category settings, either in YouTube Studio or in your AdSense account. So you can block those. And I'll note that TikTok and Twitch, two other big platforms, they don't allow political ads at all in it ever. So that isn't really an issue. The other thing I wanted to note is it's likely that most platforms have ramped up their policy enforcement. So if you make content that is related to politics or anything even peripheral to that, I think it's more likely that it will be dinged, as being potentially violating the policy. I think YouTube, Meta, TikTok, they're all being really sensitive to this. And I will note that the one exception is X, which, Elon Musk is actively campaigning for Donald Trump. He's got this super PAC. He made a community that's supposed to be out election integrity, but they're just sharing conspiracy theories there. X makes no lip service or anything that it's nonpartisan or it's going to try and block misinformation. How do you even block misinformation when the owner of the site is the one sharing it? So X is not great. I just want to take a minute now to say hello to everyone in the live chat. It's good to see you here. And that was the US election section of today's live stream. I won't be talking more about that. I hope you had a fun Halloween. On eBoard, that's Nina, says she went to the Children's Museum with her granddaughter who's 3 years old. They had costumes for kids and cool scientific experiments. That sounds totally fun. And Craig is mentioning about the election. What a long campaign. I'm glad it's almost over. Yeah, especially since it's actually shorter than usual this year, but it always seems really long. For Halloween, I basically stayed home. We gave out candy to the kids. We didn't have quite as many as this year as we usually do, but it's always fun to see what the kids dress up like. And I do have some leftover candy that I can dispose of. So that is the changes for the US elections. If you're in the US, please vote. It's important, not just the presidential elections, but your local elections as well. Alrighty, so now I am going to shift over to some updates from YouTube. And the first thing I wanted to just talk about is YouTube badges. So a couple of weeks ago, YouTube announced there's going to be a bunch of new features, mostly aimed at viewers and boosting engagement. And one of those things was badges. These are rolling out right now. I got excited because I got a badge. And you can get badges by answering YouTube quiz questions correctly. If you want quizzes, you should check the community tab on my channel. I post a quiz every week. You can work on your badge there. You can get a badge by being one of the first people to join a channel's membership program. You can complete a course on YouTube by watching all the videos. These are free courses and paid courses. You can have one of a select set of creators heart your comment. I don't know who these creators are. It probably makes sense they don't announce that so that people aren't like begging for hearts. But go leave good comments on multiple channels. And the other option is that you can be a top listener to an artist on YouTube Music. There's some limitations there. It doesn't include music that's made for kids, and it's probably not every artist. So if you want to see whether you have badges, you can just open up the YouTube app and tap the U icon. It's your channel icon at bottom right. There's a badges option. You can click it there. I also made a tutorial and a short, and you can check that out if you want more information. And YouTube says they may be adding more ways to earn badges in the future. The next thing you should know about, if you are monetizing your YouTube channel and you monetize your live streams, there is a new default live mid-roll setting. Now, what does this mean? Mid-rolls are the ads in the middle of the video instead of at the beginning or the end. And the new setting, and I need to read this to make sure I have it correct. So the new default is that the live mid-rolls will be turned on to the recommended setting, let YouTube decide balanced. So you can say, let YouTube decide, and it can be more frequent or less frequent. Balanced is sort of right in the middle. This is going to change if you didn't have any mid-roll settings set previously. So you can go into your settings in Live Control Room. You can change it for your channel defaults. You can change it for individual videos. I actually have live streaming set for me to manually insert ads when I'm live, and I don't actually ever insert any of them. I do turn on automatic ads after the video is processed and archived. The next change I want to talk about briefly, this is from Creator Insider. You should check out their video for more details. But in YouTube Studio, in the YouTube Studio mobile app, they redesigned the content tab where it's more clearly separated between different kinds of content. So you'll see a heading that says videos and live streams and shorts, and then you can click a button to view all the content of that type at once. This will be rolling out over the next few weeks. The other update that Creator Insider announced is that the comments tab in YouTube Studio, that you can see they have that in YouTube Studio Mobile, it's being renamed Community, and it's going to show audience metrics like returning viewers. There will also be a community spotlight that highlights your most engaged viewers. So it's not just comments, it's also about your community. And I assume that this is also partially related to the new communities feature that's still in beta right now. I think that may be rolling out maybe in the new year. So that makes the community tab more community-like. The other thing that's new is new AI-powered smart reply suggestions. They already have this, if you especially go into YouTube Studio on desktop, you can see here's a smart reply, but the new smart replies are supposed to use your tone, your phrasing, sound more like you. You can select them, you can edit them. The rollout pace is going to be the new comments tab will be in the coming weeks, and the new smart replies are going to be rolling out, I quote, gradually over time. So there's no specific timing for that. Keep an eye on your account. I think these are good changes for the most part. The other thing that I will mention is that YouTube is expanding AI-generated video summaries to more English language videos. So this is like you see a video and then you'll see like a little AI-generated summary. Oh, this is what the video's about. It's not meant to replace descriptions in the video. It's meant to complement it. I don't know how good it is. YouTube is saying if you see these and you have an opinion, do submit feedback to let them know whether it's good, bad, helpful. If you are a creator and these summaries are on your channel, I don't think there's any way to turn it off, at least not currently. But do send feedback. The last thing I wanted to talk about is, let me see, is an update to Twitch. But before I do that, I want to mention, if you want to get all this week's updates and tutorials, you should subscribe to my newsletter. Let me see. I thought I had a note about that, but I do not. It's a link in the video description. You get a newsletter every Saturday. It's also on my blog. So if you want to go directly to my blog and read it, you can do that as well. So be sure to subscribe and check that out. The other thing that I wanted to mention is that immediately after this live stream, I'm going to go over to the On eBoard channel and we're going to have 3 tech tips in 10 minutes. There will be an automatic redirect after this live stream is over. So be sure to check that out. Okay, so the next thing I wanted to talk about is an update to Twitch. And this is a policy update. Twitch requires certain content to be labeled. They introduced this in 2023, and this was mostly mature content. So if you are playing mature rated games, there's sexual themes in your live stream, content about drugs, intoxication, excessive tobacco use, violent depictions, significant profanity, gambling, all sort of kind of things you maybe wouldn't want to expose kids to. You need to put a label on that. And once you've labeled it, there's an interstitial people have to click through. And Twitch says that, the reason Twitch says they are doing that is that it helps streamers connect with viewers who are more likely to be a good fit for their communities. So people who are interested in that kind of content will see that kind of content, but the labels also help protect younger viewers and advertisers. There's the key there. So if you have content that needs to be labeled, and it is required, Twitch says that they may label for you if you don't do it. Advertisers may choose not to place ads on your content if you have any of these topics, and that's not unusual. It's sort of the same thing as the advertiser-friendly guidelines that YouTube has, except that doesn't put any block or interstitial on the content itself. That just says that advertisers may not want to be associated with that content. So this has been going on since last year, but Twitch made an announcement this week that they are updating the policy, and now you need to label your content if it includes, if it's focused on, not just includes, if it is focused on politics or sensitive social issues. So what does this mean? It means if there is on the stream a political official discussing policy, live coverage of elections, live streams of rallies or protests around civil rights issues or government policies, discussing military conflicts or foreign policy decisions. And I think the most controversial part of this is if your stream is focused on discussing ideological or socio-political views on topics like gender, race, sexuality, or religion. So those are obviously hot button issues. Now, if you're focusing your stream on that, you need to put a label so there's an interstitial warning, and advertisers may not want to advertise on your content. What is not included is, this is a quote, what is not included is informational or educational content presented in a neutral, fact-based manner. Neutral, fact-based manner. And it's fine if you occasionally mention politics or sensitive social issues and it's not the focus of your stream. So I think that this is an interesting thing to do a week before the election. Here in the US, there's obviously a lot of things going on around that, and a lot of strife in the world where people are talking about their military and war and things like that. So the question is, of course, how well will this be enforced? And I really personally dislike this requirement that says, oh, it's fine if you're talking in a neutral, fact-based manner, because it is absolutely possible and not even that hard to push your own personal opinion in a way that sounds as if it's fact-based, but it really isn't. So we'll see how that goes. Why is Twitch doing this? I think obviously the US elections, they've had a bunch of controversies over the past few weeks about creators saying things about the Middle East, either pro-Israel or pro-Palestine, that got really heated and kind of nasty. And I think that this is also a way to protect advertisers. That's the bottom line. And just in more general terms, I think a lot of platforms are limiting how much political discussion there is, because it does cause a lot of strife. It makes people really unhappy. And that's bad for the platform. So you also see this, for example, on Instagram and Threads. By default, they won't recommend content that's related to politics or sensitive social issues unless people opt in. So that's the way it's going. I want to say hi to everybody in the chat. I hope I don't miss anyone. I see Andrew is there, and Craig, and Nina, and Sifa. I hope I'm pronouncing everybody's name correctly, and Beso Bader. Thank you for joining me today. I take recommendations. If there's something you're interested in that I can talk about next week, I'm happy to at least hear what you're interested in. I usually talk about things relating to video and blogging and websites and stuff like that. And again, I'm just highlighting the top updates of the week. Everything is in this week's blog post and newsletter. So those are my updates for this week. If you're in the US and eligible to vote, you should go vote. There are 3 tips in 10 minutes. We're going to be talking tech tips, I think. We have a special guest on eBoard. She's going to have some tips about using Gemini in Google Workspace, like Google Docs and so forth. I think it should be really interesting. So I hope you join us. There will be an automatic redirect when the live stream ends. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you have a great week, and I will see you next Sunday.